Hello, hello, and welcome to the Book Buzz Show. I am your host, Cheryl Brooks. And if you are new here, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. If you enjoy the upcoming show, please like, follow, and subscribe and share the broadcast with others. For those who are new here at the Book Buzz Show, we do discuss the book and the characters with some minor spoilers, but we don't do anything that would give away the book, no major spoilers. Um, in addition to being a live broadcast, for those who are new, the Book Buzz Show is now also a podcast. So you can check us out at the Book Buzz Show with Cheryl, wherever you get your podcasts, and then make sure to follow us. And that way you can listen to us when you're out and about. Also, if you're looking to promote your brand, business, product, or service, we have ad spots available and sponsorship packages opportunities available as well. Visit our website at iaspirebooks2, the number 2.com for more information on that. All right, and then tonight, the book that we are discussing is The Singapore Stunt by Mel Walker. And Mel Walker is my guest for tonight, and he is an award-winning rare bird, which is the male romance author, and specializing in heartfelt small-town romance. He enjoys telling compelling romances with all the feels. He's a native New Yorker and a lifelong frustrated New York Mets fan. He enjoys baseball, reading, bike rides, and riding outdoors, where he absorbs the unique energy of the city. And we had that in common because I love reading outdoors when the weather is nice. Without further ado, let me bring on my guest for tonight, Mel Walker, and my co-host for tonight, Jennifer Copeland. Welcome, welcome, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this.
Welcome. Thank you.
And we have Ola in the audience. Hi, Ola. Thank you for joining us this evening. Okay. And we're just going to get right into it. Let's see. One of the questions I wanted to ask, the first thing was if you could tell us a little about your writing journey as far as professionally, especially being a male author in the romance world, which is mainly you think about female authors more than male. So how has it been as far as that journey?
Oh yeah, thank you for the question. Super excited to be here, and yeah, I get this question a lot in terms of being a male romance author. Hey Angela, how's it going? um, the journey has been very fulfilling. I feel very blessed and special. So I've been writing almost my entire life. I've always enjoyed creating stories out of thin air, creating characters and interesting journeys for people. And I've always worked on it. Really got serious probably 2015, 2016. Really doubled down in terms of going to workshops, going to conferences and stuff. And then started my publishing journey. And to your question, romance has always talked to me in terms of what I like to write. I really like to write about the emotional journeys of characters, and what more is more heartfelt than love in that journey. So that always was a big part of what I wanted to write. And entering the community, I went in, a little naive. To your point, I didn't realize, 99% of the romance authors are female. I went to a specific romance conference, and it was 130 people, and there were like 5 men total. But to your question, I was embraced. People, came up to me. They wanted to talk to me. They were curious as well in terms of what's it been like, how the journey has gone. The community is amazing. They're very supportive. They very open. Lots of knowledge sharing. I early in my career, I picked up a lot of mentors that were happy to embrace me and share their journey and their learnings and lessons. And I've been trying to do that myself now that I've been in the field for a little while, helping other authors along. But the community is very amazing and embraced me. And everyone wants to know in terms of the male perspective, how's it going and everything.
Right.
And I always give them, I was like, I wish there were a whole lot more male writers, because it's amazing. Community's amazing. The readers are fantastic. And I love what I'm doing.
Well, that's good to know that the community embraced you, and I also like what you said about mentors, because I think that's important too for people who have gone before you to help lift other people up. So I love that people were willing to give you their knowledge and their experience about what they've done in the same industry.
Yeah.
So that's good. And then also, can you tell the audience what the book, The Singapore Stunt, is about?
Oh, sure. So Singapore Stunt, hold it up here. It's a travel romance. So it brings a Hollywood starlet all the way across from Hollywood to Singapore. So it's a unique journey for her. So the main character is Kimberly Conrad. And she's actually, I've written about her before. So she's actually featured in one of my other novels called Traces Forever, which is a small town romance based in Indiana. They were filming a movie there, her and the main character Trace, and she was involved in a fake romance there. She wasn't the main character, but she played a big part in that story. And so many of my readers were like, you have to give Kimberly a story. And so it always was in the back of my head, finding the right vehicle for Kimberly. And so when I was approached by one of the romance authors talking about community, they have this Vagabond series, which is a travel romance series. They've had it, this was year 2. So there's 26 books in the series. They approached me and asked me to join. And I was like, yes, I have the perfect person that I want to write a travel romance for, a Hollywood star. And I was like, what's the proper vehicle for her? And so the story of The Singapore Stunt is she's working on a movie in LA, and it features this amazing stunt that's going to be based in Singapore. However, her stunt double gets injured early in the story, and they can't find a replacement. So she raises her hand and says, I'll do the dangerous stunt. The stunt coordinator, Mateus, he's behind the scenes. He doesn't like working with all the Hollywood stuff and all the pampered suit stars. And he's like, this is never going to work. So the studio is like, you know what? We have 3 days for you guys to figure it out. So they fly her to Singapore, and she's attached at the hip with Mateus, and they have to work together and find a way to make the stunt work. And in the process, they find out a lot of other things about each other.
Now, you gave us a little bit of background on Kimberly. What about Mateus? Who is he in the story?
So Mateus, he's the co-owner of the stunt coordinating team. So he's the actual designer of the Singapore Stunt. It's a super dangerous stunt that he is super proud of, and it's going to put his stunt company on the map. So that's why he's so vested in getting this stunt right, and why he's so initially resistant to having someone from Hollywood do it as opposed to a professional stunt person. His journey is that he's had a lifetime full of disappointments. He used to be a professional baseball player. He's got injured. And so this was his fallback position in terms of doing stunt work. He's good at it. He loves doing it. But he's had a lifetime full of disappointments. And so that's another guardrail that he has up in terms of people entering his profession that aren't prepped and ready for it. So that dynamic of, I'm the starlet and I'm going to do this. Like, and that there's a lot of conflict going on in there.
And it definitely had made him jaded. I noticed that early on in the story. One thing I found interesting too, and I was telling you that this is my first read by you, and I'm going to definitely go back and check out your catalog. But when I was looking through your catalog on your website, I noticed that you just like with this book that you don't necessarily stick with African American characters. Is that something that's intentional?
Yeah, yeah. I write across. I write interracial. I do Black romance. I'll do the white couples as well. My small town series has a couple of mixed in there. I just think the theme of love is universal,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to write across all of them. I have a book from the called The Amazing Date that deals with a couple. One is based in Puerto Rico. So
Okay. I'm definitely going to check that out too. um, I was going to, I think I mentioned this to you before we came on the air, that I love stories. What made me choose this book, as far as of yours to read first, is that I love stories with the main characters that have unique professions or careers. And when I saw that the main character in this was trying her hand at stunt work, and that the hero was in that world as well. It intrigued me and made me want to read the story. And one thing that I noticed when I was reading is you did an amazing job of putting the reader, giving them like a glimpse of what happens behind the scenes. Did you have to do any special kind of research or anything?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I've done a bunch of research in terms of stunt work. Also, growing up, I was a huge fan of Jackie Chan, and he does his own stunts. But what people haven't realized is when he started early in his career, he was a stunt person, and he was a acrobat, trained acrobat, and he used a lot of his training in his stunt work, etc. And so I read his biography. I actually met him when he did a book signing way back in the day here in New York. And I've always been fascinated in terms of stunt work. And so I did a lot of research in terms of how they do it, how they prep it, et cetera. But having said that, I did take some liberties in terms of some of the safety protocols they would have on set, just to raise the tension of this novel as well. So don't try this at home, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was amazing, and it had me on the edge of my seat. And I was like, okay, it felt like I was on the lot of a Hollywood set,
Mhm.
and that I was being like on a tour or something, and I was getting like
Oh,
a back a glimpse of what was happening behind the scenes. Was it like that for you too, Jennifer?
Yeah, it was like that for me, and I actually learned a whole lot. So it was an amazing book. That's all I can say.
well,
Yeah,
thank
it
you.
was. You did an excellent job, and that's coming from the perspective too of us being laymen and that. But it felt like that you were spot on with everything as far as that world.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that because that's what reading is for, is to take people on journeys. So I'm so pleased to hear that I was successful there.
Yeah, you definitely did that, and I'm a fan of destination type romance too. So just knowing that the Vagabond series is based on travel romance, I'm definitely going to check out the entire series because that's something that I'm interested in.
Well, you'll have plenty to choose from. Lots of
I saw that.
wonderful, yeah, 26 different books out, lots of destinations. So,
Yeah, I noticed that. I can't wait to check it out. Excuse me, I have a cough, so I put a cough drop in my mouth. Um, when how did you prepare as far as when you were writing? Now I know you gave us a little bit of that when you were preparing for like for the Hollywood type. As far as did you have you written books before about Hollywood?
yeah, actually, I've done research before. So, as I mentioned in my small town romance series, the Lake Hope series, it features some Hollywood actors there. They actually come to the small town and they film a romance movie and set there. So I had done a lot of the previous research for that book back then, and a lot of that carried over, especially with the Kimberly, with the backstory between her and Trace, their friendship in Hollywood as well. But yeah, I've always been fascinated by Hollywood and how they do the movie magic. And
Me too.
yeah, I've been out to LA a few times and done some of the backlot tours and all that. It's very fascinating. Here in New York, they have a museum here, the Moving Image Museum, and they show some of the behind the scenes here as well in terms of how they do some of the post-production work with the sound and the engineering and stuff. It's very fascinating.
Yeah, I've gone to when I went to LA once for a family reunion, and that was supposed to be one of the things that we were going to do, but we ended up not being able to do it because of time constraints. But so I definitely gonna have to put that back on my list.
Yeah, definitely put that on your list. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things too I loved is the descriptions that you had of Singapore, and it had me looking up all types of stuff. Well, everything you were mentioning, I'm like, okay, I have to look this up. I was looking up the food markets, the hotel that was mentioned. I can't think of the name of it right now.
The Marina Bay.
Marina Bay. And then the kata, martial arts. I looked that up. And your descriptions were so descriptive. They were right on. And then one of my questions was, have you traveled to Singapore before?
Yeah. So, interesting question. So my son, after he graduated undergrad, he did a year-long fellow where he did travel abroad. And so he actually spent 8 months in Singapore. And we flew out to visit him, and we spent like 10 days there. Where the movie is based for the Singapore Stunt, the Marina Bay Sands, we actually stayed in that hotel as well. So I became very familiar with the hotel, the surrounding areas. They talk about the gardens next door. We visited that as well. And the food, the cuisine that I mentioned, those are all of the hawker markets we went around to just to try all the food. My son, like I said, since he had been based there, he was like the ambassador. He took us everywhere and showed us everything behind the scenes and everything. It was wonderful. It's beautiful, beautiful country.
I could tell just by the way you described it. And when I looked up the hotel, it is gorgeous. So I can imagine how it was staying there. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's amazing sight. It's also been featured in the movie Crazy Rich Asians. So if you,
I thought that yes.
Yep.
I love that movie too. It showed a different side of with what we normally see in movies regarding like Asians and so yeah, that was I love that. That's another thing on my list as far as travel. I always wanted to go to Japan, but now I've added Singapore on my
Japan's on my bucket list as well.
Yes. We have Antoinette out here now. Hi, Antoinette.
Hey,
good evening.
Welcome.
And Facebook user, one of my favorite movies.
Yes.
If you want us to know, see your face, you can go into the description at the top of the broadcast and just click the link to give StreamYard permission to see your face. Then we have books allow you to travel in the budget. True.
Yeah, so true.
Definitely true.
Yeah, definitely check out the Vagabond series if you want to travel. They have lots of exotic locations.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and all of it looks like exotic locations. I can't wait to dive into that too. Now, the Singapore Stunt in the book, it had me on the edge of my seat. It was so, oh my goodness, it was so descriptive. Even from when they were doing the practices, Kimberly and Mateus.
Mm-hmm.
It was just I could see it, I could just visualize it, and it just had me so like. But not even just the Singapore stunt. It actually started with the initial stunt with Ariana, I believe is her name.
Yep.
And you did a good job because the intensity of it just had me like sweating. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Right. What about you, Jennifer? What you think about? Because it started with the first. When I said
I,
this, the Singapore stunt, it
my
actually started with the first stunt.
my adrenaline was racing for them, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" And just the anticipation and the build up.
Yes,
I just couldn't stop reading until I saw what was gonna happen,
right.
and then I mean, it just like after I read it, my heart just dropped, and I was like, "They don't have to worry about me because they ain't cut out for no stunt work."
Wait, I know what you mean because I was the same way. I'm like, I would take a pass on that. I would let the professionals
Let the professionals
let them do
handle it.
their thing.
That's why they get paid the big bucks.
Right, right. Because you know what it reminded me when I was reading, it reminds me of Tom Cruise because you know he does a lot of his own stunts.
Yep.
And it put me into that mindset, like, okay, because in one of the movies, I think it was one of the Mission Impossible movies, he was on the side of a big tall building.
Oh yeah, the one I think that was the one set in Dubai. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
And I just can't even imagine it. But let's see. Let's get into the book a little bit. Now we mentioned the stunts had me on pins and needles from the opening stunt. And what I liked the friendships in the book. And it started out with Kimberly and Ariana in the beginning, and how she basically allowed her to shine, even if it was just for a moment. I love that when they took the walk through the set on the lot, and then with the stunt, it was just all of it was really really good and very well detailed.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Kimberly is like one of my favorite characters. There's a lot of backstory to her journey. At the start of the novel, you know, she's already at the top of the field. She's a movie star, but her background, it took her years and years to get to where she's at. A lot of hard work, and so she knows the journey. And she appreciates everybody around her, and she knows every person around her could be where she's at over time. So that's the way she treats everybody with that same level of respect.
And I love that about her character. Just in it shine through just in that one scene between her and Ariana, and I can't remember. He was a grip, I believe, the one that knocked on the trailer door.
Yeah.
She, like you said, she treated everybody with respect, regardless of where you were on the totem pole as far as the hierarchy. Let's talk a little bit about Mateus. And in the beginning, I was like, okay, what is his deal? But but I got that he was basically scarred physically and emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
But he had made so many like assumptions about Kimberly before he even met her. It kind of like turned me off in the beginning.
Yeah. He's definitely the grump of the relationship. And you find out the reasons why as you read more around it. So it's not just, as you mentioned, the physical, but it's also the emotional. He has a stepbrother that they connected late in life as well. So he has a lot of baggage with him.
Yeah, and he had a lot of insecurities, which was understandable once you read his story, find out more about him. What was your first take on him, Jennifer, when you
In a way, I related to him because of those insecurities that he had, but it was just like he was like my favorite character at in the beginning, and my heart really went out to him as the story went on. So it was I just think Kimberly was the right woman for him.
Yeah, I agree. Her personality, we'll get into her. I see Ola has she said she received her first book in the Vagabond series today, Lost in Liberia. Okay.
Oh, nice. Yes.
And she said, thank you for introducing her to Mr. Walker. You're welcome, Ola. Thank you for being here. But let's get into Kimberly. When we first introduced to her, we learned that some type of scandal has happened, and she is making her way back and proving what she's made of. Now, was the scandal, was that in the book with Trace?
Yeah, that was in Traces Forever. That was
Okay.
the big scandal there.
Okay.
But they hint at it throughout this story. But
Yeah.
essentially, her and Trace were leads on a movie based in Indiana, and the studio and them had a whole fake romance relationship around them to help with the media buzz and all of the publicity and everything. And it all came crashing down. And so she's picking up the pieces of trying to gain the trust of her fans again.
And it reminded me because I was just watching something, an entertainment show, and they were talking about, actually it was one of the news stations here in, where I am, and it was their entertainment segment, and they were talking about Megan Good and Jonathan Majors, and one of the anchors was speculating that he thought that was a fake romance. Mm-hmm. And so when I was reading this, it reminded me of that, and I said, it's amazing how true to life that is, as far as
So true, so true.
And what I love too about Kimberly, what we were talking about earlier, is her sunny disposition. Mm-hmm. And no matter what Mateus threw at her, she was not about to let him. She wasn't going down that road with him.
Yeah. Definitely, he's the grumps, she's the sunshine, and she has a long history, so she knows what she's doing. She's dealt with men all her life.
Right. And I think because of how she is and her natural personality, that's when he started saying, that she was the real deal. She wasn't like this big Hollywood, starlet who was pampered and so his whole everything that he thought about her was totally wrong.
Yeah. And she was willing to put in the work, and that's where that's where she gained his respect.
So. Right, and it brought out a softer side to him, which I loved. But I noticed even when it brought out the softer side, his doubts kept creeping in. He couldn't let himself be, think that she would want him.
Yeah.
And I thought that was, so terrible, basically, that he felt like that.
Yeah. Those insecurities, they don't get knocked down overnight. So.
Right. Now another thing that I loved, I told you I love the friendships throughout the book. The biggest thing I loved was the friendship with Kimberly and her best friend Trace. Mm-hmm. And it definitely came through in every time they were interacting, even though they weren't in the same space. But whenever they interacted, you could just feel the love between them.
Yeah. They've been through the battles together. They have each other's respect, each other's back. They know, they've seen each other at their worst moment. Right. So they're there for each other now.
And I love male-female friendships because the myth is that you can't have a friendship with the opposite sex.
Yes.
So when they're portrayed, I love that. One of the things that I noted, a heartfelt moment for me was the discussion, the talk between Kimberly and Trace, right before she was about to do the stunt. Mm-hmm. And man, that had me almost in tears, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that was a tough one to write because I was prepping for it, and I was like, it's been building and building. I was like, we need a quiet moment before this big stunt. And we briefly talk about family there, but I was like, who has that emotional connection that the readers are already familiar with? It was really with Trace. So it had to be Trace to have that conversation with. And yeah, that was a very difficult scene to write.
I can imagine. I'm like, oh my goodness. What about you, Jennifer? You know the scene I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
And another one was when Kimberly and Matthias was talking about taking their relationship, and she told him, well, we all have scars either on the outside or
Right.
inside. Man, I started crying. I was like, oh, man. I was like, go Kimberly, I was like, oh, and I'm such an emotional reader, so when I'm reading and those scenes be popping, just know them tears gonna be flowing.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a couple like that. And what was one of your favorite scenes, Mel, out of the story?
Oh man, there's so many. Just because I've had so much history with the characters, the scenes between Kimberly and Trace,
Mm-hmm.
those are all special to me. Just because I've written about the two of them for
Right,
endless
right.
times. And like I said, Kimberly's like an amazing character. I love just writing any scene with her in it. So
Yeah, those were, I think the ones with them are my favorites as well. But another favorite of mine is the scene that is the practice scenes, just because it showed Mateus how, like you said, how committed Kimberly was to doing the best that she could do, and she didn't moan about it when they were in 90-degree weather,
yes.
and she did what she needed to do,
Yeah.
and so I love that because it was showing them the bond getting stronger between them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I love the practice scenes. But I also love, like I said, I love the actual stunt itself. Just the way you described it, it was like it was playing in my mind as she was going through, and the people that
Mhm.
in the scene with her. It was amazing. You did an
Yeah.
excellent
Thank you
job.
so much.
Yeah, I read a lot of like action stuff with action in it, and you did an excellent job showcasing just how that scene would play out in the action film.
Thank you. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
definitely envisioning it as I was writing it and making sure it would work. And
definitely, definitely. What did you think of that scene, Jennifer?
Man, I was on the edge of my seat when I was reading the actual when she went to do the
Yes.
actual stunt. I was on the edge of my seat, and when what happened, I was like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "What Mel gonna do now to you know make to make it pop more?" And I was like, "Oh!" When I got that to that part, I was like, "Yes, yes."
It definitely had me like, oh my goodness. I was like this. I'm like, oh my gosh. But excellent job on that. And Ola is saying she can't wait to get her hands on this one.
nice.
Ola, let me tell you, you are going to love it, and you'll see what we're talking about when you get to those scenes. It's amazing writing. Um, and I was going to ask you too. What does it mean? I saw it listed for Singapore. It said cities and then /state. What does that
Mhm.
actually mean?
Yeah. So Singapore is an island, and it's a full state, but it's the size of a city. So it's a very small
Oh,
island, and so it's a city and the country. Singapore is all one and
all
the
of
same. So yeah.
because I was wondering because I saw it a couple of times. I'm like, okay, what do they mean by that? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's very
Um,
interesting that the culture there is unique and fascinating. So it's a mix of Western and Eastern cultures coming together. There are four official languages there on the city-state country there,
mhm.
so they support four different languages everywhere. So all the signage is in four different languages. Everything is in four languages, and
Is
it's
English one
really,
of them?
yeah, yeah, very, very unique place.
Hmm. Because that's one thing I was going to ask you. Because I noticed when I told you that Japan is one of the places I wanted to go, or want to go. And when I've read like watch documentaries, I see that they have a lot of their signs are in English as well as
Yep. Yeah.
Japanese, which is good for people traveling. You don't have to
Yeah.
worry about, am I gonna get lost because I can't read.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And Singapore, you won't get lost in Singapore. Their transportation system is like one of the best in the world.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's good to know. Um, the It says that Kimberly is a part of. Okay, that's what I was going to ask you about, but you already answered this when we were talking about the Lake. Lake is a Hopper series.
Yeah. The Lake Hope series. Yep.
Hope series. Okay,
Yep.
I'm writing it down so I can go back and check it out. Let's see. All right. One of the things I was going to ask you too that I ask a lot of authors is if you could write any genre, what genre would you try your hand at?
Well, you see a lot of the elements already in my romance is suspense. Um, you'll see certain of my books. So this one and the amazing date as well has a lot of action
Okay.
built into it. I really like the suspense element. So yeah, if I ever write another genre, I would probably just do either a romantic suspense or a full-on suspense novel.
Yeah, I can see that just from this book. I can see that element, and then not suspense in the sense that somebody's after or anything like that, but in the suspense as far as the build up
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that you were right that you were able to create with the stunts. And another question is, what keeps you motivated in writing and in life?
Yes, that's a great question. Um, in terms of motivation, I get motivation from everywhere. I like to write, as you read my intro. I like to write outdoors and pick up energy and just seeing people interact, how they act when they think no one's looking, and
Right.
things like that. Typical author stuff, music. I get a lot of inspiration from music, family. But yeah, and just my mind is always racing. So there's 1,000 characters I want to write about. So
I believe it, and that's the same for. So with the writing, is that the same as with the life as far as your motivation?
yeah. Just with the motivation for life is really just family, and just the people in my life, and just making sure everybody's happy and healthy. Those are the two key things.
I hear you on that. And one thing was interested in with being an author is such a solitary profession. How do you stay connected, like to your family and friends?
Um, yeah, I got a large family, so it's kind of easy.
Say they're gonna come drag you out if you're not
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We see each other on a regular basis, and that the family part's not that difficult. the
Okay, well
friends,
that's good.
the
That's
friends
good.
is more of a challenge, just around the scheduling and stuff like that. But socially active in a lot of different ways. Like I mentioned, I like to bike. I'm in running clubs. Just there's lots of different little groups I'm in. Bunch of
Hmm.
author community groups as well, so interacting with other authors as well. So it's not just at your keyboard by yourself.
Okay.
Connecting with other people as they go through their journeys.
Um, I was going to ask you too. When you first started out writing, did you start out independent, or did
Yes.
you try to shop your work around?
Yeah. So I started out trying to do both. Did indie just because traditional is so much slower. But I did do some pitches and some shopping and stuff, and started indie at the same time. And once I started doing indie and realized how much flexibility and control I had, and also in which the speed I could work at, it really, I was like, this is what I want to do. Just to give you an instance, so like this past year and last year as well, I was able to, put out 8 different publications.
Oh, really?
Yeah, between novels and novellas and collections and stuff like that. And that would have taken me, 5 years if I went the traditional route.
True, true. And I can see how, because the freedom of it, I can see how that can be appealing.
Yeah, and then the cool thing with indie is you get approached by like the organizers of the Vagabond, and you have the control to say, yeah, I'll join, and submit and join an existing catalog, etc. You don't have the conflicts with your publication company, and etc. So
that's a good point. I didn't think about it that way. And what is like a typical day in your life when you're deep in writing mode?
Oh yeah. So when I'm deep in writing mode, I get up early. So I'm an early morning writer. So I'll get up 5:30 in the morning. If the weather's nice, I'll go outside and write early, and just watching everybody walk their dogs and stuff. It's interesting. So yeah, I'll crank through that as long as I can. Take a break. I might decompress, do some reading, do some bike riding, do something else to re-energize. Typically, like I said, I'm a morning writer, and then in the evenings is when I do like a lot of the admin stuff. Since it is indie, you have to do all your promotions, all your working on the website, everything else, edits, reworks, things like that. So try to break the day up like that. But the best part is always the morning part, the writing part.
Okay. And do you have any like writing quirks? Do you have anything that you do, like a routine before you start writing?
Not particularly. The one thing, and it's not really a quirk, but like when I'm really struggling for some reason, I have to get a Dunkin' Donuts tea with lemon.
Okay.
And that just somehow frees the brains up.
Say there's got to be Dunkin' Donuts too, huh?
Yeah. Because they have the lemon. So Starbucks doesn't do lemon slices, and so their tea doesn't really work for me.
I like that. And Midnight is saying, "Hey, Mel, congratulations on the release."
Welcome. Thank you.
Midnight, I said the same thing. Outside is a favorite place to read as well. I said that too.
Yeah, it's really nice being outside.
And that gets the juices flowing. And yeah, most definitely. And going back to reading, I love that you can still read, enjoy reading. Why? Because some authors I've interviewed have said that they can't really read anymore while they're writing. Now, when you do read in the same genre that you write in, or do you read something totally different?
It depends. So I read cross genre, so it's like whatever's at the top of my Kindle. But I don't have a problem reading in genre while writing romance. There are so many tremendously talented authors out there, and there's so many books on my Kindle, and I know I'm never going to get to everything I want.
Right. Same with me. Yeah. And Jennifer too, I'm sure.
It's definitely same with me, and especially when y'all be dropping all these new releases, I'm like, what am I reading?
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes if it's, say for instance, it's Mel, and I know he's dropping a new book, and as soon as he says it's release, I'll abandon what I'm reading and jump and read.
Right.
So it's just like on your Kindle, and a physical TBR list. It's no way you're going to get through all that.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. And there's just so many good books too. So it's not even a matter of, I can discard this, I can discard. You get invested in some of these books, and it's like, I can't stop. Yet in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, but so-and-so just dropped yesterday, and this one's coming out tomorrow.
Right. And I especially now, since I been doing the show, and like Jennifer was saying, you have all these, but I still have to prep for the show. So I'm like, okay, how can I fit all this in? I'm gonna
Yeah.
Midnight is asking you, is this a collaboration?
Yeah, so it's a collaboration in terms of the series. So the Travel Romance Vagabond series is organized through CL Collier. And so she's organized all of the authors in that series. And so this was season 2. So she had a previous season, it was
Oh, okay.
13 authors. And then this current year, I think is another 13 or 14 authors. And so, yeah, we have a Facebook group that's author based. There's also a public facing one for the fans to join as well. And in the author one is where we talk through, the series and some of the tropes and things we want to cover off and make sure, obviously as a travel romance, we want to make sure everybody has different cities and we don't all pick the same city. Things like that.
Yeah, I can see how that could be. Now, when I was reading the synopsis, I saw that they are all standalones. But do they all connect in any way, or are this?
No, they're complete standalones.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know. Oh yeah, she's saying, Jennifer, what you were saying about multiple release times is bad.
Bad. Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, but the readers always have an advantage. You can read faster than we can write. So
she's asking you why Singapore.
It's just an enchanting place. It's a unique place, most unique place I've been to, and it's just fascinating. And I think the more I can talk about it, get more people over there, so everybody can see how beautiful it really is.
Yeah.
And the food, like I said, the food's amazing, and the food is inexpensive as well, which is great.
Yeah. I noticed that when, and I noticed it in the movie too when it was talking about it. Yeah. Now, do you love to travel? Where other places have you been besides Singapore?
Yeah, I don't travel as much as I want to, but I think a lot of people are like that. I recently just got back from Amsterdam. Was my first time there. That's
How
another
was that?
Yeah, that was another beautiful city. That's a great walking city, which I love. I love to walk. So I was like at home there. I was like, oh, I can walk everywhere. It's awesome. They have the beautiful canals. The architecture is amazing. And in the evenings when the sun sets and the lights come on, it's really, really beautiful city. And I like the bike, and they got a billion bikes there. So I went on one of the boat tours, and they mentioned, he's like, yeah, we have 800,000 residents and 1.6 million bikes. So.
And that's where they have the Anne Frank.
Yes, the Anne Frank Museum is there.
Yeah. Were you able to go check that out?
It was sold out. The Van Gogh was sold out as well, but I went to another art museum, and they actually had a Van Gogh on display there. So. Okay.
Yeah, because I said that would be good, because when I was younger, I remember reading the autobiography. I mean, the biography, whatever you want to call it. Let's see. Midnight is asking, will there be more with you in this group?
Yeah, so we just wrapped season 2. They're now talking about a season 3 collaboration. So,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so I think next year you'll probably see another slew of releases with more cities.
Can't wait. And Facebook user is saying the readers finish books before we can blink.
Yes. So especially in the romance genre, people devour books really, really fast, which makes our job really happy.
Right. So. Yeah, we don't like having to wait on the books either. Like, can we get, especially if we fall in love with the character?
Yes.
The characters, I'm like, can we get some more of this character, please?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Midnight says she heard Amsterdam is a great tourist place.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. Beautiful city. Like I said, you can walk everywhere. Lots to see, entertainment, food. Everything.
That's where they have the red light district, right?
They have a red light district there as well. Yes.
Did you check that out too?
we walked through that district as well. So it's definitely unique.
I love to travel too. I haven't been able to do it as much in the last couple of years, but I would love to get back to it. The only thing is, I've been wanting to go to England, to London, Paris, and Scotland. And reason for Scotland is because I fell in love with the Outlander series.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
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 So that those are on my list. But now, like I said, I'm adding Singapore because you made it so
Oh yeah,
show how
definitely in
beautiful it
Singapore.
is. Yeah.
And if you get to Paris, there's a train that goes to Amsterdam. So
Oh, really?
you
Okay.
can knock it off on the same trip. So
Okay. Good to know. Jennifer, did you have any questions or comments for Mel? We're getting close to the time.
I just want to say, like I said at the beginning, the Singapore Stunt was an amazing read. I finished it in a matter of hours, and I just felt like I was there in
Yes.
Singapore. The way that Mel described it, the food, the hotel,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just amazing. And like I said, I was just sitting on the edge of my seat trying to see what was gonna happen next.
Same here. Yep. Same here. And like I said, I'm definitely gonna go back and check out the rest of your catalog, Mel, for definitely, and hopefully be able to have you back again on the show.
absolutely, I would love to be back.
Yeah, I can't wait. And do you have anything else coming up besides season 3 of the Vagabond series?
Yeah, actually next week.
Okay.
So I'm part of a collaboration, Once Upon a Halloween Night.
Okay.
And so it is, I think it's 10 or 11 authors, different stories based in New Orleans, talking about travel. And that one does have cross collaboration.
Okay.
So it's stories, different stories, but all taking place in the same Halloween party. So
Okay.
yeah, I have a story in there that's called "Love on the Halloween Dance Floor."
Oh man.
So it's interesting. I have a previous novella out there, "Love on the Dance Floor," and so it picks up the same world there. So we have the brother of one of the characters from that novella is featured in this one.
Okay, so I'll read that first before I read the latest one. But I look forward to it, and great, great job again with this book. I really, really, really enjoyed it, and thank you again for coming on the show. I appreciate it, and great discussion.
Thank you both for having me. I had a fantastic time. This was a great discussion, and I am so pleased that you guys love the Singapore Sun.
Yes, most definitely. I definitely would recommend it to everyone. If you haven't read it, Midnight. If you haven't read it, make sure you go get it because it is excellent, excellent.
Excellent.
And thank you everyone in the audience for joining us. And everyone have a great evening. And I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Good night.